right. We are here live, ladies and gents. Let me make sure my sound is good. Can everybody hear me?
Delete this. This is loud enough. All right, let's get rock and rolling. Today I'm talking about potentially suing a client. Interesting topic, but something super relevant, and I wanted to chat about it. Lessons I've learned, things I am we're going to get better at next time. But let me go ahead and share, and we'll get rock and rolling. So two super relevant things that not a lot of people talk about is the downside of hosting, right? You do enough transactions, like you're going to get some a-hole owners, and you're going to need to sue them. So let's jump into it. All right, should be able to see this. We'll be talking about this specific owner. If you're curious who it is, shoot me a DM. I'm not going to put them on blast. Once it all settles, I definitely will, because they deserve it. But and then the second piece is ADR plus occupancy, and which one is more important. I had a really good conversation with also the client that we fired. I briefed on it last week, but essentially getting over the ADR facade. ADR is only a small portion of what needs to be looked at. Occupancy is more important, and the most important stat is actual revenue. So let's go to use case there that I want to talk to you guys about. Kind of show you what we're seeing and data to really back it up. So all right, let's get to the fun one. So we had a rogue client just completely early terminate the agreement, break NC laws, breach our agreement, multiple other things, safe housing, like I could go on for days. So long story short, we were like, okay, we're just going to cut ties with this person. Complete a-hole, just disrespect, terrible person. How to do business, just the complete people that we want to disassociate with altogether. So what we do is a couple lessons I've learned from going through this process is, first of all, making sure your agreement is intact. That is probably the most important feature of all this, and I'm going to show you exactly what we do and why we do it. It's specifically for this exact rogue owner. So essentially, like when an owner goes rogue, they screw all of our other clients up, right? Because if they terminate agreement, we have to cancel reservations, which affects all the other our entire account, not just that specific client. So there's like NC Vacation Rental Act that you have to abide by. This guy just didn't care, which is really sad. But I believe in karma, and I've emotionally moved past it. So we are we're gonna take this guy to court, which I've been excited to do it. This is going to be a great example of like how to do it successfully. I'm going to document the whole journey of this. But long story short, there was about a $13,000 early termination fee, and I'll kind of go through this how we got to this. So in our agreement, if somebody terminates early, so we have a 12-month agreement. Anybody terminates early without our like consent, like if we're sucking and doing a terrible job, like okay, yeah, like we've let clients off the hook where we thought it would hit one number. It's probably happened once before. We're just like, okay, we're not hitting the numbers. We don't want to work with you. Don't work with us. Like we're good. Let's keep it moving. This one, we had I think 5 or 6 reservations on the books. So we were like, hey, look, we're hitting our numbers. We're meeting our expectations. We've even exceeded it for a couple months. But the owner was thinking we were stealing from him, which is by far not the truth. So what we did, we executed this early termination fee. which is about $1,000 per booking plus 100% of the booking value. So if a reservation is $2,000, he owed us $2,000 to cancel that stay because of this early termination. Now, you're probably like, this is a very heavy-handed termination fee. And yes, it 100% is. Like, this is why we do it, for this exact reason, where we never want to cancel stays, right? Ever, ever, ever. It is if you want to drive this thing into the ground, start canceling stays. So we never want to do it. So we make it very, very difficult for somebody to terminate early, and especially when we have stays on the books, right? So we are going to fee you to death. So you disincentivize this. Now, if we have 0 reservations on the books, that's a different story, right? It goes back to the first point where it's like we, underperformed for whatever reason. Maybe it's the quality of the house. Maybe it's, the quality of the guests, where like one property, we had 2 negative reviews in the beginning. So we had to revamp the listing and completely relist it. So not the case here. We were rock and rolling. We were limping along because the owner didn't approve our maintenance request. Like, we would call him and say, hey, the HVAC is out. And in our agreement, we had a $400 maintenance limit that we're not going to spend over $400 without his approval. He just would never answer. He'd be like, okay, get 3 more quotes. Never answer. So we were limping along, which definitely affected reviews negatively, but it didn't really affect us because we were able to still book it just because we're very good at what we do. So definitely some maintenance issues that were neglected on his end, which completely different story that we're going to bring up in the case, because it was arguably inhabitable at some point, and the owner just wouldn't approve it. So all these like red flags, we were just like, okay, this is not worth any of our time and effort. All money is not good money. This was definitely not worth the time investment. So that's kind of what we do and why we do it. Funny story. This owner actually went to the property and knocked on the door when our guest checked out. He looked at the calendar, knocked on the door when the guest checked out, and offered them to extend the stay because we told him that they were wanting to extend. We wanted to get his approval. And then he essentially went behind our back and offered the stay, and Venmo requested them on site, which is just shitty. But anyways, just to kind of give you a level of caliber of this gentleman. Got a whole crew over here. Hopefully it's not too loud. In preparation for this, so the writing was on the wall. We knew this was going to burn down, and we were prepped for it. We actually moved the listings to another account in preparation for this piece. I call this our chess move because this shielded us from it affecting our other clients that we inevitably knew it was going to happen. I could do a whole nother video on how to move listings to different accounts the right way, because there's a lot of things to consider with relisting and the right and wrong way to do that. So very, very beware on doing that without proper guidance. Somebody that's been there, done that. So that's kind of the scenario. We are in the early stages of just compiling all the evidence. We've got multiple evidences of him just breaching your contract, breaking NC law. So it's going to be really interesting. I've been kind of waiting to go to small claims court for something like this, because everybody, like, I honestly thought it was going to be from a guest, like a guest, threatens to sue us. I didn't think we would be suing a client or ex-client. So interesting. I'll definitely do report on like the entire process. It's going to be interesting, kind of fun, be able to learn the legal system and what to do and what not to do. So if you're not following along, definitely follow. All right. So point number 2, and if you guys have questions, I am an open book when it comes to this stuff. Obviously, lesson number 2 here that I know, but clients don't know. They don't understand this. I did a post last week about you're overpriced and underoccupied, and to make more money as a host, you need to lower your rates. Sounds ass backwards, right? What do you mean, Caleb? Like, I need to up my rates to make more money. It actually doesn't work like that. It works in reverse. We've launched probably 55 listings at this point in 12, 15 markets. Like, it works the same. You're not a snowflake. It works in beach markets, mountain markets, city, urban markets. It works overseas. Like, it's the exact same business model. So I say all that to say, I want to kind of revisit. I did a whole entire video on it last week, but I've got some examples of essentially this other client that was just so gung-ho on the ADR. They did not want below like $160 ADR. No, it was $170 ADR on average, weekday, weekend, peak season, slow season. Like, it didn't matter. So it was interesting because I created the comp set, brought up the comps, and looked at the revenue by month, which we do for all of our revenue management clients. In September, we onboarded them last week, and already offboarded them because it just was not a good fit. So September, the average comp did $1,500, which is, let's see, 1,500. My math is way off. There's no way that is right. No way. Okay, so I was gonna try and break it down for the average ADR, but for a $1,500 property, it's like 100 and some bucks per night on average. So everybody else is making about $1,500 a month, which is the slow season. I always say that in slow season, you want to be the first one booked, not the last one. In peak season, you want to be the last booked. You want to be the last man standing approach. Airbnb Automated does a great video on like first man booked in slow season, last man booked in peak season. It is really, really good. So that's beside the point. But this specific comps, so this was actually a property overseas. These comps were doing about 55K on average, like across the board. There were ones in the exact same complex, like exact same model, amenities, like the better photos. Most of the comps were doing like 55. Some were doing 60, some were doing like 50, some were doing like 45 in the exact same complex. Like, there was probably 8 out of the 15 comps you like next door neighbor. So the closest comp you could ever have. But what we did was we realigned expectations with the client. We're like, okay, look, based on the comps, like, she wanted like 65 for this place a year. We were like, look, the range is like 50 to 55 on average. There's one outlier that is doing like 68. So we're like, okay, look, this 68 is it was about the same type of property, same amenities, like same photos. It was like a penthouse, same access to the beach. Like, all the amenities were almost the exact same. But what they were doing different, which I found out in my research, was they were actually priced about 20% lower than everyone else. So we we wanted to go to like 120, 130 a night because that's what people were booking at. This client wouldn't let us go under 160, which is why their entire September was open. So very frustrating where it's like, hey, look, we make this decision based on data, but she had a mental block on making money, unfortunately. So what we did, we were like, okay, this isn't worth it. But I want to kind of bring it back to the lesson here. This outlier that was doing 68 grand, they were priced at, it was 128 per night. They didn't even have dynamic pricing, which is kind of crazy to think about. This property that was doing about 10, 20% more than everyone else, most places were booked at like 140, 145 a night. They were booking at 128 a night. So you would think, oh my God, Caleb, like, if I'm booking at a lower nightly rate, I must be making less money. That is wrong, and very wrong. If you have a lower ADR, and a lower ADR drives higher occupancy, and higher occupancy drives higher revenue. So this property, most people were doing 55, this is doing 13 grand more than everyone else at a 20% lower ADR. So I wanted to at least share that here today because I think I struck a nerve last week with everybody. I got probably 6 DMs on this, and just like curiously asking, like, what do you mean? Like, I don't want to lower my nightly rate to get a booking. Like, that's a bad booking. It's a bad guess. Sometimes you need it to really get momentum on these listings. It takes time, but the easiest way to do that, to make more money, is to lower your nightly rate, which once again, it sounds crazy, but it freaking works. So long story short, this client was not a good fit, so we let him go. Um, and I wanted to kind of share those two stories because I talk a lot about the good side of hosting, but I don't really talk about the bad side enough. We also had a charge back this week for about 4 grand, which I think we'll hoping we'll win, but who knows? So just want to be transparent with you guys because it is every day is a new day. Every day is a new battle. It feels like at times, but other than that, any questions on these specific points or anything else regarding hosting up here up at Camp North End right now, getting some sunshine. If not, we'll wrap this thing up early. Might go get some coffee. I'm having all kinds of issues. Facebook not streaming, but all right, cool. Appreciate everybody's time and effort. You're watching the replay. Give me a follow. Shoot me a